ACC has filed an amended complaint against Florida State. Pete Thamel, ESPN, just released this complaint online. Let's read it together. Florida State, along with every other member of the ACC, agreed to and executed a grant of rights in which it's transferred its exclusive media rights to all of its home games through 2036. Boy, you can see where this is going, and I haven't even read the second half of the paragraph yet. By aggregating their media rights in the conference, members realized more value from the collective media rights, and the media partners in the conference were assured they would have access to all home games of the members throughout the length of the agreement. These agreements resulted in contracts within the ACC and ESPN. And what you're seeing here very clearly is the ACC is now going to detail how Florida State has breached its contract. And in their filing, they say that the conference have and recovered of Florida State damages for the breach of its obligation to maintain confidentiality of the ESPN agreements in an amount to be determined. The court issue a permanent injunction barring Florida State from disclosing confidential information from the ESPN agreements. And I don't mean to keep telling you how awesome and how all-knowing I am.
Dude,
this is exactly what I told you was coming, right? If you look at this list of allegations right here, we told you the reason that they kept the grant of rights under lock and key at the conference office is for confidentiality and the protection of their business abilities. And that's exactly what this is. Look at number 7. The court issue a permanent injunction barring Florida State from participating in the management of the affairs of the conference while it has direct and material conflict of interest with the purposes and objectives of the conference. Holy cow. Holy cow. The conference have and recover of Florida State's damages for its breach of ACC constitution and bylaws in an attempt to be proven at trial, but which the conference believes will be substantial. So they're saying that the damage Florida State is causing right now is substantial. I mean, right away, this is exactly what we thought was coming.
Right.
I think that this is, you read these documents that the ACC is filing, and it is wild that the ACC is looking for damages from Florida State. But you know what I say? This is exactly what the ACC should be doing. Because as we've talked about on a repeated basis, and I go no further back to the PNW, the Pacific Northwest, and you look at what Washington and the other 9 exiting members of the conference did, all they did was create monetary damage to the 2 remaining Pac-12 members. And who won in that case? Very clearly, Oregon State and Washington State won, and they won unanimously, and it was not close.
Yeah.
And so now you go back to this document today filed in court as an amended complaint by the ACC against Florida State. The conference have and recover of Florida State's damages for its breach of its obligation to maintain confidentiality. Wow. So they're saying that they broke their confidentiality agreement. They are in breach of contract. And I think number 7 is really important. Injunction barring Florida State from participating in the management of the affairs of the ACC while it has direct and material conflict of interest. That's massive. So you are basically saying Florida State can be in our conference, but we don't want to hear a flipping word from Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that says. And this is, dude, I think the ACC is going to run over Florida State with this.
I mean, I think it's, to your point, like exactly what we talked about. Like the ACC has always had, Thor's hammer waiting to be dropped on Florida State, if you will. Like the ACC is in a position where the contract that these 2 have agreed upon is boilerplate, like standard operating procedure contract, and Florida State's pissed off it runs to 2036. That's it. Like, you're upset that you agreed to this contract. So what's the ACC doing here? The ACC is just saying, hey, cool, you ran your mouth. Did we stand in the way of you running your mouth? No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We let you make all that noise, create all those problems. And now what have we done? Once you went quiet and waited for us, now you started it and we're going to finish it. And I agree. This is very much like the Pac-12. I don't know how, if you're a judge, you look at this and you say, yeah, Florida State's in the right here.
All I can say is I watch Suits. I know how the court system works. It was a Suits joke.
I'm for real.
Anyway, this is black and white to me. I think the ACC baited the mousetrap. And I think that rat Florida State walked right in and started eating that peanut butter, and they just snapped that trap closed. Because all this filing today from the ACC, all this did, if you look at the summary of claims that's on the screen now, Florida State's serial breaches of critical legal promises and obligations, which it made over the last 13 years to the ACC. So what does that sentence say? They've been longtime partners. They've understood the rules and the law for the last 13 years. And now, all in one fell swoop, they breached critical legal promises and obligations that they've known and kept for 13 years. For 13 years. In 2013 and 2016, Florida State, along with every other member of the ACC, agreed to and executed a grant of rights. That's a critical sentence.
Yes, it is.
Because how many Florida State fans came on this show and said, we didn't sign anything, there are no signatures? Well, apparently, according to a court filing, which has ethical and legal obligations to it, you cannot knowingly file a false court filing, right? That's what the ACC be doing here. They say agreed and executed a grant of rights, which means Florida State agreed to it, signed it, executed it, and for the past 13 years has been abiding by it.
And now they see where the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 are going, and they see themselves falling behind, and now they're upset trying to get out of their grant of rights. And this is why I say, again, this is very straight. Honestly, this is more straightforward than the Pac-12 thing. I can't even believe I'm saying that. But this is more straightforward than the Pac-12 thing, meaning, hey, it's a contract. You agreed to it. There is no getting out of it. You can pay the buyout fee. Like, there is getting out of it if you want to pay $500 million, which, again, I might add, you agreed to, which I can't believe you agreed to that, but you did. So let's not be victims here. You signed a deal, and now the ACC is simply saying you've been cool with it for 13 years, and now you're not cool with it, so you want out right now. But that's not how it works.
But what are they also saying? You breached contracted confidentiality. You had a confidentiality agreement in which it sounds like, if you look at the list here, the conference have and recover Florida State damages for its breach of its obligation to maintain confidentiality. So they signed a contract that has a confidentiality provision in it. Boy, it's tough to get away from that. It is tough to get away from that. Court issue a permanent injunction barring Florida State from disclosing confidential information. And then again, number 7, I think, is the absolute nail in the Florida State coffin. Permanent. Note that it says permanent injunction barring Florida State from participating in the management of the affairs of the conference while it has a direct and material conflict of interest with the purposes and objectives of the conference.
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
So essentially what they're saying is, you're going to pay us because you breached confidentiality, you are in breach of contract, and we want an injunction barring Florida State from taking part in any business and having oversight of any business of the ACC as long as their desire is to leave the ACC. So what this tells me is Florida State hasn't found a way out of that grant of rights, and they're probably not going to. And I think the ACC is in the driver's seat in this lawsuit. You don't file this list of claims if you are not unbelievably confident.
Yeah.
That's what this tells me.
Yeah, I mean, you're grabbing this situation by the neck and saying we're in control.
This is a big deal.
Like that. Yeah, it's absolutely a big deal. And I think if you're another member institution in the ACC and you're sort of on standby here, you're just watching this thing play out in front of you, if you will. You're sitting here saying, yeah, this is what member institutions get when they run their mouth. And I might also point out, after seeing what the ACC's done here, again, that whole portion about like, hey, damages and, hey, you've essentially been running your mouth. That's causing issues. Like, dude, the whole college football playoff issue with Florida State is a bad look for the ACC. And I know they haven't specifically referenced that, but when you think about the college football playoff situation, you think about the fact before that they were still trying to get out of the conference. Like, this has been an ongoing thing for Florida State. And I feel like my biggest takeaway from this filing is, yes, the confidentiality agreement portion, but they're saying, shut up, like, stop, be done with it. That's why they want permanent injunction.
And I think what they are doing here is they are essentially saying, yeah, you're going to stay here and you're going to sit in the corner and you're going to keep your mouth shut and you're going to play football and you're going to play basketball and you're going to make us money. And then you're not going to get paid for a long time because you damaged our relationship with the ESPN, who's incredibly valuable to this conference.
Yes.
That's what they're telling Florida State. And it's going to be awfully difficult. Even, again, much like the Michigan situation, though, the judge that's going to hear this Florida State filing is a Florida State alum, which you would expect. It's a state University of Florida, right? You would expect that. So we'll see how all this plays out. But it is remarkable to me that Florida State put themselves in this situation. This is, I think it's incompetent and mismanagement. I truly do.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest differences between the Michigan thing and the Florida State thing in terms of the judge is that in the Michigan situation, at least in that situation, you could kind of story tell yourself into believing like the claims Michigan were making, even though they had no evidence or basis to be making those claims. At least there, you're like, all right, I'm a Michigan man. I played football there. I'm an alum, went to their law school. Okay, I get it. But here, the problem is that Florida State really, their claims, there's not much to go on here. They're like, you're just throwing stuff out into the open, hoping it sticks to something.
And you're Florida State.
Yeah.
Man. You are a power football program. You are a power athletic institution. You are a power academic institution. This is not Poughkeepsie General Hair Cutting Salon School.
And I think that right there is the dividing factor. Because if you said that to someone who's pro Florida State in the college football playoff issue, they're saying that's exactly why we should be in the college football playoff, or that's why we should be able to get out of the ACC. But if you say it on the other side, it's like, hey, have some class, Florida State. I mean, Michigan. Like, it's the same thought with both of these schools.
And that argument about this is why we should be in the college football playoff, it conflates and really it just confuses the issues. The college football playoff issue has nothing to do with this grant of rights deal, because I don't care what conference Florida State would have been in. The Pac-0, the Mountain West, it doesn't matter. You weren't getting in because you weren't one of the four best teams. That after going through the college football playoff, I think that was very clear that they would not have competed in those games.
Yeah.
You can keep throwing that, but what this says is, again, and I don't mean to keep going back to this, but it's the day we were on the air when Washington went to court. And I said, you've got to make an argument. It's the day that Michigan went to court. And what did I say? What argument can you make? They made none. You know what they should have said? And I'll say the same thing about Florida State. I know exactly what Florida State should have done. They should have never gone to court. You know what they should have done? They should have built relationships, and they should have built and I don't know if you want to call it an alliance. You don't have the relationships or the people skills in the ACC to get the necessary numbers to break that grant of rights. That's what you should have done, because you can't go to court when you have a rock solid contract. You can't go to court on a rock solid contract and argue breach of contract, because you signed that contract. And again, our sources told us this, and go back to the original show we do because it's right here on our channel. Our sources told us then what I'm going to tell you right now, and what I told you back then. They read it and they signed that grant of rights, not once, but twice. Let that sink in. This grant of rights you say is so incredibly unfair that would cost you $500 million to break. You signed it not once, but twice. And there's no getting away from that. So again, let's play this out in court, right? You're the president of Florida State. Sir, ma'am, did you read the grant of rights? Yes. Did you sign the grant of rights? Yes. Your Honor, I move for a summary judgment. Done. Ma'am or sir, did you read the grant of rights? No. Your Honor, I move for a summary judgment. Done. What is your argument? You read it, you signed it, case closed. You didn't read it, you signed it, case closed. You have nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. You got to make it not about the contract, but about the situation itself. There's got to be.
Hey, look at 10 members of the ACC who won out of the grants of rights.
Yes.
Let's, and then to come back. And this is a part I think is so damaging.
Yeah.
To come back in your court filing, Florida State, and say that you damaged the integrity and the reputation and the monetary ability of the conference by admitting Calford and SMU on no money, thereby devaluing the ACC. What does that say to ESPN, who had to agree to do those deals with Calford and SMU? You just laid out naked all of the business of the ACC. And today the ACC answered. And I just don't see how you win this. And it's just like Michigan filing an injunction to a hearing to get an injunction to allow Jim Harbaugh to coach games. And you had a judge in the Michigan case, very much like the Florida State case. Michigan law alum, Michigan football player, and a Michigan law alum who was ready to hear your injunction. And what did you do? Did you go to court? Did you stand and make an argument? You didn't. You pulled it because you knew you were wrong. And in Florida State, what did Florida State say? We're going to file this even though we know we're not going to win. You know you're not going to win. It's remarkable to me. It is remarkable to me that an institution, the esteem of Florida State, would put themselves in this position.
Yeah.
Completely unethical, a complete waste of student resources, a complete waste. And not only that, let's not forget the Florida governor and the Florida AG have already spent well over $1 million on this. All because of the college football playoff situation. You've spent $1 million. And the college football playoff, by all accounts, still has not answered your request for information. Where's the bite? Where's the dog? The big teeth and stuff. You're going to rip them to shreds. Where is it, Ron? Where is it, DeSanctimonious? Where's your $1 million? And what did Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, say? I am going to throw $1 million at this, even though I don't think it'll do any good. That's where Florida State is. It is what it is.
Watch the money burn.
Eric Wasikowski, good afternoon, my friend. Florida State is just upset. Maryland and Rutgers are making more than them. You signed an agreement not once, but twice.
What you want me to say to them?
Be upset, right? That's the part that's amazing to me. It is the part that is just so remarkable.
It is truly one of those, this might be one of the most, dead bolted contracts I've ever seen.
And who wrote it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Big 12 wrote it.
Yeah.
The ACC grant of rights, I don't know how many people realize this. The ACC grant of rights is almost a mirror image of the Big 12 grant of rights. How much money did Oklahoma and Texas pay to leave early? A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, they did.
They paid to get out early. Anyway.
A lot.
I'm just telling you, man, these things do not come and go easily.
Yeah.
Let's see who's all in today. Bailey Dietrich, along with the cheaters up north. Okay. Ron Loney, the ACC doesn't need any help looking bad. No, they don't. This whole thing's a blight on the face of the ACC. It truly is.
But I do think, and again, this is where I think the ACC learned some lessons from the Pac-12 situation. The ACC is not going to play soft here. No, I don't think they will. They saw how the Pac-12 melted down. They saw what happened when the member institutions stood up, and they're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question about how this ends for Florida State. The eye patch, who are these geniuses that would sign a 10-year contract? It's called the Pac-12. And how did that work out for the Pac-12? And again, I think this is why that Big Ten grant of rights will be the last one we ever see at that level. I think things will change dramatically. Harry Austin, you guys keep discounting Florida State. How are we discounting Florida State, Harry?
And you keep living on a delusion with Florida State. You've been a Florida State guy.
I think I think I just said it. I don't know. Maybe I didn't hear myself speak, but I think Florida State is an incredible university with a power athletic department and just 10-cent minds running it. Like this whole thing has always struck me as an emotional outburst. You spent, how many millions do you estimate that Florida State has spent on trying to get out of this grant of rights?
Several.
God damn, it's got to be tens of millions of dollars just in legal fees.
Yeah.
And by a lot of sourcing, they had a pot of tens of millions of dollars with a large number, the Carolinas, Duke, Florida State, Clemson, and Miami, at a minimum, we're all working together to try and find a crack in the dam of the ACC grant of rights. Couldn't find it. Spent 5 years and tens of billions of dollars. I think this was an emotional outburst. Truly, I think that's what it is. Carruthers, what's up, my guy? ACC is the ugly stepchild of the Power Four conferences. Right now they are. But I think the Calvert thing, I guess I'll just keep saying how right I always am. And good looking. SMU's a disaster. SMU is a disaster for that conference. Because not only does SMU not give you a pipeline into Dallas, bro. We're Dallas. Congratulations. Just because it says Dallas on the front of your uniform does not mean you're Dallas.
Hey, did you guys take a run at, Caleb Downs or anybody who went to Texas recently? Or,
everybody in the transfer portal is going to SMU.
Right.
I mean, you're Dallas.
Right.
But now the college football playoff will not recognize SMU as a P5 university. So you're not going to get any money, and the ACC is not getting any money. So where are you going to get your money? Oh, the boosters and the collectives. Cool story, bro. And then ESPN goes broke, and everything gets real interesting. How does ESPN go broke?
Yeah, where's that coming from, bro?
ESPN is not even struggling financially. Again, I don't know where this narrative come from. Have you guys checked the numbers on football the last 6 weeks for ESPN? We're talking about all-time viewership numbers. All-time viewership numbers. And the NFL and the NBA are on the verge of buying minority shares in ESPN. So where exactly is ESPN going broke? Because they're already well ahead of pace. I think it was maybe Front Office Sports 2 weeks ago on the ESPN Plus membership boom that has taken place. Like, ESPN's not going broke anytime soon. They are financially strong. There's no question. I mean, they're paying Pat McAfee, $85 million. Does that sound like a company going broke? It doesn't at all in any way. Brandon Butler, this is brilliant from the ACC because now FSU would not be able to vote to dissolve the conference. That's my point. You're just going to sit in the corner. We're not going to pay you until our damage claim is taken care of, and you're out of business in this conference.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Goliath just walked through the door, bro.
It does.
That's kind of what the ACC did today.
And everyone else in the conference is not even going to try, Daddy, because they got to get that belt. They're going to get the belt.
That's what I'm saying, dude. This is a power move out of the ACC.
Right.
And look, again, it's what and you've
not
said
even
this on
gonna
the show
try,
before.
Daddy.
Dude, it's what you've said before, right? Hey, when there's no leadership, chaos takes over. So what is the ACC doing? They're saying, cool, dude, you're the loudmouth over here in the corner that thinks you bigger than you are. So we're going to step in now. We're going to show you the contract you signed and agreed to along with everybody else in this conference. And now we're going to move to put you away. And that's all it is.
Yeah. This is that proverbial, you brought a knife to a gunfight.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Harry Austin, this is not a good thing for the ACC. This hurts them in the long run as well. Completely disagree. I think all this can do is strengthen, because I think the thing that a lot of people forget is Florida State is not well liked in the conference. Florida State has been that unhappy family member who you dread seeing on Thanksgiving. That's who Florida State's been. And they have not been able to get enough votes. Like when Calford and SMU came in, they were not able to coalesce around a group of membership and stop that expansion from happening. Florida State, and I guess I just go back to, you're not breaking me, bro, you're making me. Because Florida State forced the ACC to flex. And if this plays out in court, and if Florida State doesn't withdraw, because I'd be kind of surprised if they didn't withdraw at some point, because I just don't think it's winnable. And you're throwing bad money after bad money. If this gets in front of a judge, there is no chance. There's no chance Florida State can win. Not when you're running out the damages and you're asking for a permanent injunction.
Yeah.
What are you really doing here? You are giving the court the opportunity to give Florida State, you know what, we side with the ACC, but we're not going to grant that permanent injunction. That's what this is. And it's, again, legal briefs are not written to get everything that you're writing in the brief. Legal briefs, and what this is, my guess is, this is a negotiating tactic. And I think this is going to end very poorly for Florida State.
How about that?
If I had a guess. TJ Beck, should Oregon State and Wazoo go all in on YouTube or Apple for their games? They have nothing right now for media rights. Man, I think that's a completely different. I think it's very difficult to know. I've heard a lot about the opportunities. There's a story today that broke about Amazon Prime Sports doing a deal with a company called Diamond Sports Group. And depending on where you're listening to us, you may know what Bally Sports is. Bally Sports is your regional sports network, RSN. And Arizona is a big one. You can look at the DC area, wherever you want to point to. They did a deal today with Amazon Prime Sports where all of these Bally channels that you're looking at on the screen will now be available on Amazon Prime Sports in their local markets. And you may also know that Diamond Sports Group, again, who owns Bally Sports, the network, Bally Sports is just a licensing deal with Bally Casinos. You may know that they're insolvent. They're bankrupt. They're going out of business. This is an injection from Amazon. I think it's $151 million. And it puts all of these teams you're looking at on Amazon Prime Sports regionally. It's a brilliant deal for Amazon Prime. Brilliant. It brings brand new eyeballs to the TV. The question is, if you look at this here, there's no representation in the Great Northwest. And I'm curious, Amazon, which is headquartered in Seattle, obviously, wanted Pac-12 rights. They bid for the Pac-12 rights. But George Kliavkoff came in at such an exorbitant number that they've never really got off the ground. Could Amazon be a player in that? I think they could. Apple's not going to take two teams. You're not going to do that. There will be distribution for Oregon State and Washington State. I don't think we have any idea where that will be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's premature to guess at that, but that's me. Like it is that's just, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays
difficult
out.
to say.
So pretty significant story in college athletics. This ACC filing an amended complaint against Florida State's challenge of the grant of rights is pretty remarkable today. How many times, and I think we're seeing it pretty regularly, how many times are we seeing things we've never seen before?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing it a lot more now because the landscape in college football specifically is changing. And you're seeing, again, not that NIL is attached to the Florida State issue, but like things like NIL and the portal change the way business is done in college football. And so when you've got, the SEC or like the Big 12, let's say, or whoever doing better at this area of college football than the ACC is doing, they're going to win more. They're going to make more money. They're going to, climb the ranks. They're going to do bigger and better things. And maybe eventually they jump to a more high profile conference. And Florida State, remember, their stance is, hey, we're Florida State. We're better than everyone in this conference. We should be probably an SEC team. Some people speculate the Big Ten, but we should be an SEC team. And that's where we should be. And that's why we want out. Notice the argument isn't, hey, the contract is terrible and puts us in some terrible position. So that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, college football is changing. Your mistake was you agreed to something until 2035 or whatever it is. Like, that's your problem. Deal with it.
Yeah, I think it is really interesting. And now Pete Thamel actually has obtained the page that I hoped he would post in this ACC court filing, which is the summary of claims by the ACC, which says, first claim for relief, request for declaratory judgment that the grant of rights and the amended grant of rights are valid and enforceable contracts. Second claim for relief, Florida State is estopped by its acceptance of benefits or has waived its conduct any challenge to the grant of rights and amended grant of rights. Third claim, Florida State has breached its promise and grant of rights and amended grant of rights. Fourth claim, Florida State has breached its obligation to protect confidential information. And there's that term again. And I think it is incredibly important when you have a confidentiality agreement as a part of a contract. Ooh, I might be completely wrong, but it sounds like Florida State didn't read the fine print. That's what it sounds like. Fifth claim, Florida State has breached and continues to breach its fiduciary obligation to the conference under the ACC's constitution and bylaws and North Carolina law, which I'd remind you, the ACC is based in North Carolina. Sixth, Florida State has breached its obligation of good faith and fair dealings under the ACC constitution and bylaws. And Florida State has done this by essentially saying, we don't like the financial agreement that we have to take part in. We want out. That's because that's their whole argument. Is it's hurting us financially. It's too expensive to buy out of. Please help us. That's their that's their argument they're making in court. So fascinating day. Fascinating. We started talking about Alabama backsliding and now Florida State. I don't see how Florida State wins this. If somebody would like to show up and make the argument on how that happens.
I'm sure someone's going to try.
I don't know. I don't know. Kurt Myers, whatever happened with the 60 million Comcast, you guys? I don't understand why this hasn't been fully grasped, because I think it's been explained a million times. That bill paid itself because Comcast stopped paying the Pac-12 to offset the overpayment that they had previously. It's not as though like the lawsuit with the Holiday Bowl or whatever you might want to point to.
Yeah.
It's not as though the Pac-12 just has a $60 million bill sitting there that they have to pay to Comcast. So, and so many people trip over that. And I'm not sure why that's been such a point of contention. I think because it probably blew up and was such a big talking point.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant. The bill paid itself. It truly did. Scott of Graywater Watch, government bailout for Florida State? I don't think so.
Nah.
Jeff Woodworth, Florida State will lose this by more than they lost to UGA. I don't think that's possible.
Well played, sir.
Gumby fresh out. Florida State waves in opposition.
Anita Dickinman. Waves in opposition.
Amazing. Hour number 2 of the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at Bucked Up. Bucked Up Energy. I've been sitting here drinking a Miami, which is finally back in stock. So many people have messaged me asking, hey, bro, where can I get some Miami?
Can I take one of these because it's so hard to find one? Would that be okay?
I'll break your arm. It is so hard to find. Miami, in my opinion, is the best flavor. It's my favorite flavor. Mango Tango is another, like, all of Bucked Up's flavors are good. Cherry candy's really good. But Miami just hits different. It basically is pina colada on steroids.
It's so smooth.
It is.
It is smooth, man. Like, it is, obviously we've all had a lot of different drinks in our life and things we drink on the day to day. That is by far one of the easiest things I have ever had the opportunity to drink.
Totally. And get it right now at buckedup.com. You can also go to Walmart here in the great state of Utah, any of the Bucked Up stores. The one in South Jordan rarely has it, but they sell it by the case in those stores. You can get it at walmart.com. Walmart, one of the official distributors. But if you're one of our great listeners in Texas, any of your HEB stores, any of your Walmarts there, Maverick, for any of our people in Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, any Maverick store will have it. Like, anywhere you get an energy drink, you can find Bucked Up. It is difficult to get Bucked Up Miami. It truly is. It is that good. So hook it up. I tell you every single day. I got up this morning at 5 a.m. I had an appointment at 7 a.m. this morning. So I got up early, did shoulders this morning, the pre-workouts, the BCAAs. Do you even lift? And I'm begging you. You obviously everybody heard this story about the Golden State Warriors assistant coach.
Yes.
Who passed away early this morning from a heart attack. He had what they're calling a medical event in a restaurant in Salt Lake City. He died this morning in a Salt Lake hospital. This cat was 48 years old. Just a young dude. You guys, you have to live a healthy lifestyle, and Bucked Up has all of that for you at buckedup.com. I'm begging you to get your creatine rolling. Whether you work out or not, every morning, 1 scoop of creatine, put it in your coffee, man. Put it in your water. If you're an energy drink guy, put that creatine in your energy drink, in your oatmeal, in your eggs. Creatine tastes like nothing. So you can put it in anything that you drink. If you're an OJ guy, put a scoop of creatine in your orange juice. Get healthy, get moving, get your brain healthy. Because one day you're going to wake up and maybe you won't wake up. We take it for granted. Get healthy. Obviously, if you watch this show, you know that I am really singularly focused on that. Whether it's because I want to be a better golfer, whether it's because I want to be a better dad, although I'm a terrible father, so I know I'll never meet that bar. Okay, thanks. Whether it's I want to be a better husband, father, a better friend, a better coworker. Do it for what your motivation is, but get healthy. Please get your physicals. Please get your colonoscopies. Get to buckedup.com and get healthy. Get your pre-workouts. Get your creatines. Get your buckshots. Like the buck. I'm telling you, Buckshot, all of these other energy shots that you get, they're full of sugar and they're full of crap. Not at Bucked Up. BuckedUp.com. Get the Buckshot. Get in the description on our YouTube channel. Get 6 free Buckshots, 0 sugar, 100% naturally sourced caffeine through green tea leaf extract. Live that healthy lifestyle, man, at BuckedUp.com. I always tell you on the show, they have really helped me lose weight. I have thinned out. I am stronger. And today's the first time I think I will probably say this, but I was doing shoulders this morning, and I was doing this really difficult lateral raise, and then you come in front, and then you go down. And for the first time this morning, I took off my shirt in the bathroom, and I was like, dude, you have arms. Like, I actually have arms. I've lost that much weight and that much fat to be healthier, to work out better, to golf better, to live better. Thank you to my friends at BuckedUp.com.